Curriculum and Instruction Committee meeting to order since it is 3 o'clock. Up first on our day is the out-of-state travel proposal for the Washington DC trip to for the 8th graders at Wilson and Washington.
I move that we accept, oh, sorry.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, move.
Sorry, I guess I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Move to approve.
Move to approve.
I'll second, yeah.
Any discussion?
It's a great program.
It's an incredible program. The more kids, the more that the kids can see stuff that is outside of what they know, the better it is for the kids.
Perfect time.
Exactly, it's better. So I guess I'll call the question. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Yeah.
We'll bring that to the board then.
Great, thank you.
Sorry, I didn't.
Well, the thing that's really, I mean, I know we voted, but regardless of financial circumstances or background.
Right.
Is a pretty nice clause, I think. Yeah.
Up next, we have new course proposals for Lincoln High School. I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Eichmann.
Great, thank you. I'd like to welcome Associate Principal Ben Reed.
All right.
Some really exciting course proposals this year. Our department chairs, along with Mr. Rico, have put a lot of effort and time into creating opportunities for students, taking a look, revamping current opportunities, building on course offerings. So I think we have some exciting proposals for you all here today.
As you guys look at the agenda, if you want to just start with the art section, it looks like there's a lot going on there. What I can say is this has kind of been a long time coming for us to take a look at our art curriculum and programming at the high school, and we're excited about the direction that we're heading. This is organized in kind of the three categories of art that we provide at Lincoln High School. We've got our 2D art section, our 3D art section, and our digital media section. What we're currently doing is we have a gatekeeping course. It's called Exploring Arts. Every kid who wants to engage with art curriculum has to enter through Exploring Arts. It's very broad. The gist of the changes are coming in the form that instead of having a single course that's going to be the gatekeeper, we want kids to enter in different interest areas. So the restructuring of our art department really lets kids dabble in each of those categories. I may really enjoy 2D art, and I know that I found my pathway. I may jump into 2D art and find out that it's not for me, and I can pick another entry-level course, and I'll take that pathway. Really the restructuring is just an update of standards. For the most part, there's some name changes involved. Courses that are new. We're looking at in the 3D art section, the bottom one that was in Studio Advanced Vintage Photography. That would be our next level course from the course that we proposed last year, Vintage Photography. So it gives students who are interested in that particular avenue an opportunity to take that advanced level coursework. We are, like I said, we're not ripping everything out and starting from scratch. It's really just a restructuring of some of the coursework that we already do. It's a bit more easy to follow. We're creating these pathways within our art department for kids to engage in.
Any questions about art?
Yep, I got one question, well, maybe two. But the one on the element of why, in the description,
That one's out.
That one is it.
that one's out?
Yep.
It's gone now.
Yep.
Yeah.
So if you're seeing still on your
Oh,
list,
I-
street art and the element of why, those are not being proposed. Those were taken.
Oh, they're on the list though, aren't they?
Yes, they were. There was an update.
When did I miss the memo?
6 minutes ago.
Oh,
Oh, you were on your way in.
You got here at 2:35.
yeah, no,
Solid.
yeah, well, I was having,
No, I was talking with some art teachers as well, and it's also going to allow them to play to their strengths
Yep,
of what they
absolutely.
teach. So that's going to be a bonus for the kids as well.
Yeah, the art team at Lincoln this year is really, really strong. And again, I think the quality of conversation about creating opportunities for students that has been had has been really, really, really great.
When does the distinction get made between whether it's an art or whether it's a computer science course? You know, I mean, I know the digital arts are, you know, I was just at an art gallery and I thought, oh, wow, that's cool. And then I found out it was digital, done on a computer, and I thought, oh, is that really an art? I mean, but I guess it is, yeah, I guess it is.
Yeah. I was just
was just-
at Birds and Art, and one of the juried pieces was the thing that was designed on computer. It's like the latest.
Yeah.
Like you have to be able to manipulate everything. I mean, these courses are going to be using media in order to create the digital art.
Yeah, yeah.
The other stuff is like you're using pen or you're using paper.
Yeah,
using
right, it's just
charcoal and stuff like
different,
that.
yeah, it's just,
It's the production media.
yeah,
I think there's some blurred lines between computer science,
Yeah.
definitely, there, you know.
Yeah, I think so, too.
Understanding back end of creation of systems and
Yeah.
creation of some sort of media output, but.
yeah, I worry about the AI stuff, you know, and it's like, my son has a lot of papers to grade, and he says, well, he can tell if it's AI right away, but, you know, it doesn't do anything to discourage them, I mean, in a broad and general way. And I don't know, yeah.
To learn to embrace it, just like
Well, I guess so, yeah, I guess, so.
all other advances in technology.
Mr. Abel, you had a question?
Yeah, well, it's not really a question, it's a statement. Two statements, in fact. One is, I think it's great that you're splitting this stuff up because you see that that's the way to do it. And I trust that if you find that one of these is not responsive enough for kids, there'll be adjustments made. My other thing is, and this is absolutely something that concerns me, is I'm sad to see, I understand why street art would be removed, because the last thing we want to do is be encouraging what could also be viewed as vandalism. But as a huge fan of Banksy and a true believer that there is so much social and important social commentary about society that's coming through the guys that do street art right now.
Yeah.
It's a shame. I'm sure it'll get addressed in some way.
Oh, yeah.
I just really think both the techniques that are being used to accomplish this stuff and what they're trying to communicate are real vital commentary on what's happening in our world, so.
And if you look historically, some of the students that are producing art in the upper classes are using that as like.
Those influences.
Focus on their
Yeah.
own and pull that kind of stuff in and do those social commentaries. And that's some pretty powerful stuff that they've been doing, so, yeah.
I was really delighted to see this because, I mean, we're a left-brain society now in some ways, and that, you know, it's got to be STEM, it's got to be math, it's got to be science, et cetera, et cetera. And as a humanist, I think, wow, you know, our humanity is really reflected so much in our creativity rather than our, you know, I guess also in our equations as well. But the creativity stuff doesn't get enough. And so I'm really, really happy that Lincoln High School is going to continue a tradition of being cool, you know.
Coolest.
All right, should we move on to our
Sounds good.
ELA theater section? So the top two bullet points are out of our theater department. These are not new courses, these are simply name changes. Right now, what we have on the books are intro to theater performance and then theater performance. Just want to tweak that a little bit and just simply call them your entry-level courses, theater and performance and production. Your second course is advanced theater and performance and production. The tag of advanced matches some of our other departments' advanced level course titles. It makes it a little bit more efficient for us. We also are predicting maybe some opportunities to work with our middle school theater programs. We would call the middle school program Intro to our theater program, which would start in high school.
Existent. I sent email to Ben saying, I looked at the email he sent, and then I looked at the proposal, and I wrote him back and I said, there's no there there, you know? Well, I mean, there's no description of what you're doing, and he wrote me back right away and said, no, this isn't a new course, this is like, so I was late on that one too.
The other two, in this section are part of our ELA departments. This is the Advanced Placement Research, the Advanced Placement Seminar. Each of these is a semester course. I will let you enter into those course descriptions. If you look at the key reasons to offer this course, it's very self-evident that this is a good opportunity for us as a school who provides lots of advanced placement coursework. The nature of AP Research, AP Seminar, this is your entry to AP. Our goal here is to attract more students at an earlier stage in their academic career to get onto that AP track. There's opportunities for some additional like designations by taking a large number of AP courses throughout high school where kids can be recognized for their achievements in the AP realm. These are kind of they say seminar, they say research, but what it should really say is how to AP. And it opens the door to increasing opportunities for kids that we generally don't see taking our advanced level courses, and we're hoping we can bridge that gap a little bit with more of our student population with each of these courses.
And though this is taught under literacy, having these skills for advanced placement courses will help across all content AP courses. So it really, like Ben said, is setting our students up for success in considering and pursuing more advanced placement pathways. Gives us a chance to tap on some shoulders as teachers too, to say, we've got this, we have this support now for you. You're not just being thrown into a really high level course with maybe not necessarily some of those foundational skills. So cool opportunity to increase our kids. Our criteria is core and more participation, which means advanced level coursework. So creates an opportunity and a pathway for us to have more students participating in that advanced level coursework.
I have a question about that. Something, a friend of mine did some research, Big Ten schools, Ivy League, and they were looking for kids that are doing not shotgun AP, but bullet AP. I'm science AP, and I do a bunch of everything else. That's the kid that's getting into their schools, as opposed to, so like, I think we should be having that conversation with those kids as well. So, like, if you want to be a doctor, yeah, do all your AP science, but then do a bunch of other stuff too, so that you look well-rounded to those people that are picking you to come to their school.
Absolutely.
So,
So hopefully this will get us some more kids with some foundational skills that will allow them
Right.
to be very successful in those AP courses.
okay. Any other questions about theater? No? Let's move on to math. I'm excited about this one.
We are too. This math course proposal, college algebra with applications, this would provide a credited opportunity for students to receive post-secondary math credits within our walls. This is a dual credit opportunity. We have a staff member that finished their schooling so that they are certified to go out and provide this opportunity for kids, which is awesome to have in your building. What we have right now on the books is it's required that a student passes 3 years of mathematics to graduate high school. We have two big hopes with this course proposal. The first one is kids now have a carrot of why to take that 4th year of math. Right now, all kids take algebra freshman year, all kids take geometry sophomore year. Junior year, there's a little deviation. Some go upper level, some go into algebra 2. Some kids who are maybe on more of a vocational path are going to take a course that we call right now math applications. This course is targeted for those kids who may not be on your 4-year track, but are interested in some post-secondary certifications, education, what have you. And this gives them that opportunity to work with our math teachers in their senior year. Generally speaking, there may be some juniors that take this too. get access to that fourth year of math, jump the gun, so to speak, on credits that would occur beyond high school. So we're super excited about this one in particular because of the opportunities that it kind of builds within that department for our kids.
Mr. Trask?
Do we have do we have an agreement like with Lake Shore College? That's what it's called now, right?
So we have multiple, yeah, it is, yep. We have multiple agreements, correct me if I'm wrong, Katie, is the transcripted credit agreements that we have in place with some of our courses at the high school. So if the course matches their course, then our teacher teaching it essentially can, with a certain grade of the student, earn them transcripted credit
Yeah.
to Lakeshore College.
So there's the potential for like a Rising Phoenix Junior here or something?
I don't know how to answer that because I'm not sure it would work like that in this
Yeah.
case.
Would likely be a course that students who remain more traditional Lincoln High School diploma pathway would have an opportunity to receive some dual credit.
that's
With an
really good.
with a college accredited teacher providing that instruction. So it's basically taking a collegiate level course and offering it at our high school for students who may not go the calculus pathway.
Yeah, right,
Things like
yeah.
that, so.
Yeah. No, it's good concept, I think. Yeah.
No, I just have smarty aleck things to say about calculus, and I'm not gonna say.
I would have
When
those.
math has more letters than numbers, I'm out.
Yeah, that's right.
I did okay. Good. Jazz 1 and Jazz 2, that is just a,
Yeah, so right now we have jazz ensemble, one course. We have a jazz program that supports multiple sections. We differentiate between kind of kids that are first engaging with jazz and kids who are more apt to more challenging performances. And we just need the permission to get a second course on the books and differentiate between those two sections. Course is the same, standards are the same. We just would appreciate the logistics to call it
it's
one
been
and two.
needed for years. And last, environmental science.
Yeah, so our science team took a look at some of the electives that they offer. If it's okay, I'd like to invite Erin up and she can help us kind of talk through this. What we run right now, we run 2 environmental science courses. One is terrestrial, one is aquatic. This is a high interest course. Lots of kids who are just interested in science want to take this course. And what we're finding is it's kind of the same crop of kids that are involved in both of those sections. And because they are both standalone semester courses, the instructors find that we are kind of repeating the same things even though we're changing the topic. So I'm hoping you can help me explain a little bit better is how the combination of the 2 semester courses into one course just called environmental science is a better fit for us.
Sure. Yeah, so the teacher who teaches environmental science or aquatic and terrestrial right now goes through some of the kind of same basic like introduction to science concepts at the beginning of each course because you don't necessarily know. We run aquatic first because you need to be able to have liquid water. So we can't have aquatic in the wintertime. So that's always our first course we run. And like, I mean, whatever, it is what it is. So that goes first, but you sometimes don't have overlap with the kids who take terrestrial. So you have to introduce some of the science concepts to kids who've already taken the aquatic class, and they are not so dissimilar. So what we'd like to do is have do the introduction to the science concepts at the beginning, and then talk about the aquatic branch of that environmental topic and the terrestrial at the same time and kind of work our way down. And then because you don't have to duplicate that introduction to science class stuff in both classes, you can get more depth towards the end of the year. So yeah, that's the big difference between them. So yeah, nothing's really changing with the standards. Another topic or 2 might get covered because of
So
it.
you're gonna anticipate more than one section of this?
So right now, there's 2 sections of aquatic and there's 1 section of terrestrial. So I don't know if we're 100% sure how that's gonna play
So
out.
when I weighed in just in the last several years, the amount of total pupils that are engaged in both courses, you're taking into account that there's some kids who are enrolled in both. It's about 40 to 80 is our estimate, which would necessitate
Can't do that.
anytime, right? It would roughly be 2 sections.
Yeah.
Enrollment's changing, things are fluctuating, it's hard to predict, but we would anticipate roughly 2 sections if all things are equal moving forward.
Yeah.
I would throw out there a challenge. I know UW Milwaukee is developing, like, they've become one of the hotspots in the country for like water research and stuff like
yeah,
that. How do you, like, is there a way that you could tap into
Water and
the
ice.
resources to like, here's some ideas that you could use in this class that would like help point kids maybe in that direction? I mean, I know that's outside Rising King, but I think that might be exciting too.
And we have had some contact with one of the professors at UWGB
Okay.
about, they do a bunch of like water testing and stuff like that. And so once we kind of get that figured out between this class and the AP Environmental Science class, we've been trying to do some like stream collection, data
Okay.
collection, and then getting into working with the UW. And we've actually had some really cool opportunities where we've had some of our environmental science students work for some of the professors for UWGB. They got like, we had a 10th grader who got accepted as a summer intern for a professor and worked with her in the lab all summer, so.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah. Excellent, thank you. Any other questions about that? I think we can, well, thank you very much. I
A
think we
huge
can.
thank you to Erin, who serves as our science department chair at the high school and is just, as you can tell, a wealth of knowledge and always thinking about ways to improve programming for students, working collaboratively on Friday with our middle school science team. So she's a great leader and we're very fortunate to have her and the other department chairs who work so closely with Ben. It is a lot of work to think about what we want to continue to be able to be innovative and offer to students and keep our high school offering the rich programming that it does. So huge kudos to these guys and the other department chairs that worked on that and the staff members that come to the table to come up with these proposals. Thanks.
Do we have to,
I would move to, I would look for a motion to accept the slate of classes as presented.
I'll do that. I'll make them.
In a second. And since we got 2, it doesn't matter what I say. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Thank you very much.
you.
We'll bring those to the board.
Thank you.
That's cool stuff.
Thank you. Next, we have some information to share about homeless awareness and what that looks like. And
Yeah, so now I welcome Lynette Seminar. And Michaela, are you joining as well? Michaela Lee, why don't you come on up? Michaela serves as one of our school social workers at Lincoln High School. So she's one of our members of our new school social work team. So November is Homelessness Awareness Month. Lynette and our school social work and school counseling teams have put together some information that we wanted to share out. Do you want mine?
I had it up. Oh. I wanna get it for the whole screen.
See, they even turned that TV just for you. They had to, because you can't see, well, you can't see otherwise. Should put it on.
Wanna waste anyone's time. I had it up.
Yeah, I do have brochures that are sort of new that kind of go along with the presentation, so I have those for you while we're getting this pulled up.
Thank you.
Because I agree. Well, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, so yeah, I'm Lynette Seminar. My job for the district is Student Services Program Support. And one of the duties that falls within that is Families in Transition Liaison. It's sort of a new title for our McKinney-Vento program that falls under the federal McKinney-Vento Homeless Act. Formerly, we kind of referred to this as our homeless program or other titles. I hope during the presentation you'll kind of see why we've changed that title in the last couple of years. And Michaela Lee is here. She's our new school social worker for our high school students. One of their main roles that they've taken on, or one of the things that they've taken on is case managing, our families within the district. So that's one of the roles that they're, helping to fill. So thanks for being here, Michaela. So the federal McKinney-Vento Homeless Act defines homeless children and youth as those who lack a fixed, regular, and adequate nighttime residence. So fixed and regular meaning that a child is going to the same place every single night. And adequate meaning it's safe, there's sufficient space for everyone. That's kind of like where we start with that definition. So if you can click next. So this includes children and youth who might be in a shelter, which is kind of typically what people think of when they think of as people who are homeless. So we do have a couple shelters in the community that families or youth might be at and might qualify. Also, families that are living with others, they're doubled up due to economic hardship or loss of housing. That's actually our biggest category that our families and youth are qualified under, which is why we changed the title of this program to be Families in Transition. It just sort of fits more with what our families are experiencing. They likely don't refer to themselves or identify as being homeless because they're living usually in a home, just often with other people. Also, if families and youth are living in motels, hotels, or campgrounds for similar reasons, if they lost housing, economic hardship, not able to find housing, maybe they have an eviction, those are not places that are meant for long-term habitation. Also, we would qualify someone if they were in an abandoned building or another inadequate, like if a family was living in their car. They would qualify. And then we also have a separate sort of like category for unaccompanied homeless youth. Not every youth that is living without their parent or guardian qualifies under this act. We do have some youth who maybe, let's say, for example, the one that I always think of is, like, let's say we have a senior who is just about to finish graduating that year. They've been in Manitowoc, their parent gets a job out of town. Their parent might make arrangements for them to stay in town with a friend or family member for the duration of that school year. They would not qualify under this act, but we also do have youth who their parents, for whatever reason, say you're no longer able to live here for a variety of reasons. So if they fit that definition of fixed, regular, and adequate lack of adequate housing, and they're also living without their parent or guardian, that unaccompanied, then they would qualify as unaccompanied homeless youth. So we identify families in Manitowoc through a variety of ways. We have a residency screener question that appears in our initial online enrollment. I worked with Jody Pop on writing that, making sure that was in there. And it's also found within our annual update that families do every single year. We're trying to get all families to do that so we have updated information, and we have to re-qualify families yearly. Once they're qualified, let's say a family was qualified today under this act, they would have those benefits for this school year, and then they would have to re-qualify if they were still in that same environment for next school year. So that's asked every year. We also qualify families through staff interactions. If students or families are talking with parents, we have parent-teacher conferences coming up. Maybe a family discloses something there and a teacher says, oh, I think I need to talk to one of our student services members about this. This might qualify this family for some assistance. We also get communication from community agencies, our shelters. Sometimes county social workers contact us, Lakeshore CAP that works with families on helping them with housing assistance. Those are places that we might hear from. Also, previous school communication. I mentioned if a youth or a family is qualified, let's say today, and then here in Manitowoc, and a month from now, they find housing in Two Rivers, and they enroll there because that's where they found permanent housing. Then we would communicate with Two Rivers to say they were qualified under the McKinney-Vento Act, and so we also get that communication from other school districts as well. And I mentioned family and student self-report as well, so that might look several different ways. So the rights that families and youth qualify if they meet the definition under this program. So one of the main things we do is transportation. So if a family is identified, if a youth is identified, they have the right to either stay in their school of origin or attend school in the community that they're residing in. So I mentioned before, between Two Rivers and Manitowoc, let's say a student has qualified in Manitowoc, under this McKinney-Vento Act, and then they move to Two Rivers and they're doubled up with someone. Then we would work with Two Rivers to make sure that they can either, if they want to stay in Manitowoc enrolled here, we could provide transportation for them to maintain that stability of their education, or they could enroll into Two Rivers. So we work that out between our school districts. We also make sure that students get free breakfast and lunch. Right now, all of our students have that, but if that was not the case moving forward, any student who is qualified under this would get free breakfast and lunch. We waive basic school fees for students. We make sure that students are immediately enrolled. We don't wait if there's no birth certificate or proof of residency. We try to enroll students right away, especially if they meet this definition. Also making sure that students have equal access to services and programs. If a student wants to do some after-school programming, that's something that we work on to make sure that they have access to that. And also special ed services. So similar to the enrollment, if we don't have the IEP right away, we do our best to try to provide those IEP-related services while we're waiting for that paperwork. Confidentiality, so this is actually the presentation that I'm delivering to all staff. So you'll see some things in here that might be like, oh, that is maybe more like teacher related. So I talk with staff about how this is a confidential matter and a very sensitive topic for our students and their families, and just how it's so important, like most conversations we're having with students and families, but especially in this situation, that if a student is qualified and maybe they're in your classroom for any period of the day, you may not know that they qualify. We only disclose that information for the staff that are involved with that eligibility determination, which are our student services members, myself, Amy Kometz, who's our administrative assistant in student services. She does a lot of the transportation stuff. But it may be shared with staff. If it's in the educational best interest. So I just talk with our staff about that. And also just a note for our staff, if a student discloses something to you, or they say something like maybe during community circle time or whatever, for especially our elementary students who like to just blurt things out. If a student says something and you want to follow up with them and have that conversation, just make sure that that's done in a private setting because it is such a sensitive topic. So this is what our data looks like. I think the last time I pulled this data was probably last week, Wednesday. I think it's still accurate. So you'll see over time, the taller light blue bar is our total number of students who have been identified throughout the school year. The smaller number is that unaccompanied homeless youth number. So those students are also contained within the larger bar. Nationally, the average is about 2% of your enrolled population typically is qualified under the McKinney-Vento Act, and we're at about that when we come to the end of like last school year. We were at about that. But if you look at youth risk behavior survey data, which is something that's given, it's not given in every district, but if you look at that across the nation, almost 6% of high school students are self-identifying on the youth risk behavior survey that they've experienced homelessness in a given year. So that also just kind of goes back to show that this is a sensitive topic for students and families. But you'll see right now, as of last week, we were at about 48 students that were qualified already this year. We usually see a pretty large increase at the beginning of the year, again with that enrollment annual update, and then also just throughout like the beginning of the month. Maybe a family was evicted or they lost their housing for whatever reason. So right now we're at 48 and we have 3 youth that are identified under unaccompanied homeless youth.
I think it might be 4.
See, things are coming through all the time. So this is, again, information for our teachers that I share with them. I've been to a couple schools. I have a school that I'm visiting tomorrow, and then some of our student services staff are sharing this with their buildings as well. Things that I'm asking our staff to just do: watch and listen for signs from students that they might be experiencing housing instability, ask open-ended questions, listen without judgment, talking to your student services staff. So that's one thing that Michaela and our other school social workers are doing, and our school counselors have been doing all along as well. They're the primary case managers in their building. They're the ones that are asking the follow-up questions, contacting families to kind of dig into those things. Because again, not every situation where a youth or a family might be living doubled up or living without their parents doesn't necessarily qualify them for this program. You need to ask some follow-up questions and kind of have some sensitive conversations with families. That's the job of our student services staff in the buildings. And also just a note, avoiding that term homeless, and then also, again, like talking about this sensitive nature. 60% of youth students identified that they were uncomfortable talking to people at school about their housing status. So just, again, notes for our staff to understand what students might be going through. We have a lot of additional supports available above and beyond those educational rights that I talked about. Some of these things are partnerships in the community, and some of them are things that we have developed in the Student Services Department. We have partnerships with WGNR. They have a Brighter Dreams project. For every 10 beds that they sell, they will donate 1 bed to a community program. We are a community program that benefits from that. After we applied and were approved, we have up to 10 beds in a calendar year that we're able to apply for and receive for students. So whether they're doubled up and they are a student is sleeping on a couch, we can try to get them a bed if they have room for it, or maybe a family has secured stable housing and would like some beds, maybe they don't have furniture, we're able to get beds. That also comes with bedding and pillows for them. We have partnerships with Grow It Forward. Our weekend food bags come from them. Right now we have it's almost 300 that we're providing. Those are focused right now at our elementary schools. At secondary, we utilize a donation account that we have from Peter's Pantry, where they have food available for students and families that could look like snacks. It could look like some little meal kits that can go home with students or families. That's also available at our elementaries as well. We have a partnership with Quick Trip, where we are able to provide vouchers to families so they have access to some of those perishable goods like milk, eggs, bread, fruit, vegetables. They can take that to Quick Trip and turn it in, and then that money comes out of our account that we, again, are getting from Peter's Pantry. We also have a new program, and I'm not sure if it's continuing past this month. The last one was yesterday that was scheduled, called Laundry Day. It's an area church is doing that. It's for anyone in the community that's experiencing homelessness. They can go to Globe Laundry and do laundry with a volunteer there. They also have food and other information. I'm not sure if they're continuing that past this month. I have to contact someone about that. Yesterday was the last day that I knew about. And then we also have the Caring Closet, which we have one here at Central Office that houses a lot of hygiene supplies, the bedding that I mentioned, school supplies, some clothing, and then many of our other schools also have closets in them as well. I know Lincoln has one, some of our middle schools, elementaries, they all have different kind of things in their buildings, depending on their space and what their students need. And then we also have a kind of still sort of new, it's called the Manti Cares Network. It's an email network that people can sign up to be on. And when we hear about things that maybe we don't have in one of those caring closets, like I need a pair of size 5 shoes. Well, I don't have a pair of size 5 shoes, and you can't really predict those things, like what are kids gonna need, what size of shoes. So we can send out an email on that email listserv with like those specific needs that we don't have, and then if people are able or willing to donate them, they contact, let's say Michaela sent that request, they would contact Michaela directly to make that donation. This is just a picture of the brochure that you have in front of you. That's something that we've kind of reworked once we renamed the program, also just to send all of these things to our families when they are identified. They should be notified of all of these services by our student services staff, and then that can be given to them as well to kind of explain things to them further. I mentioned our primary contacts in the buildings are student services staff members. That's our school counselors, our school social workers. I am the district liaison. That means I'm communicating with other districts, hearing from other districts, working on these partnerships, and then I get all the identification forms that come through. Amy Kometz is also a main contact. She's the one doing all the work in IC to do all the flags that gets communicated to the DPI and to Wise Dash for all of those things. And then Katie is our director. And then there's just a slide with some more information. So some links to things, DPI, some state and national organizations. There are some links to videos and other trainings. And again, this is a presentation I'm sharing with all of our staff. This month is National Homelessness Awareness Month. It's a big, so that's why I'm trying to get into our buildings and wanted to get in front of all of you to share information and kind of, so you know what the program is. If you hear the term, again, because it's not called homelessness, families in transition, again, because it just kind of reflects what our families and students are experiencing and how they would, you know, identify their experience a little bit more closely. Does any of you have any questions?
Do you have any academic assistance, like tutorial services at all? I mean, when I was in grad school, I used to, I made a bit of a living out of being a tutor for the people on the football team. And I thought, oh, what a privileged position. But, you know, being in transition, living in your car and trying to go to school, it's just like, wow. I mean, most kids have a hard time doing it, even if they're going to the same bed at night. But these kids are at a really distinct disadvantage. And I don't know if we have any kind of supplemental academic stuff for it, because, and that's their only way out in this country, I think, isn't it? To kind of get an education of some kind, yeah.
Yeah, so students that are qualified under this program
Yeah.
have access to our reading supports, our math supports.
Okay.
All of the supports that, you know, we're really working hard on our
Okay.
multi-level systems of support and like all of those supports that are available for kids that need more. So as they're identified as needing more support, they can access.
Yeah, that's
those
really
as well.
good. Yeah, that should be better known, I think. Yeah.
Yep.
Thank you very much for that.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Just want to thank our
Excellent.
student services team, they're great.
Yeah.
Working hard every day.
Providing the kids with is step number one. Everything.
How many students did you say we have now?
Right now, as of last week, when I updated the graph, it was 48. Yeah.
Odd, isn't it?
Yeah, last year at the end of the year, we were at, I think, 101-ish, so a little bit over 100.
Oh, my God, really?
And that's, you know, anytime throughout the school year. So maybe they were identified in September, and by the end of the year, they might not be living in that same situation, but that's like throughout the school year last year.
Oh, that's like Dickens, isn't it? I mean, it's like, I mean, honestly, that's shocking.
Thank you very much.
Thank you
Thank you.
both.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Next up, we'll be turning to information on the data walls, which is a monitoring system. Is that?
Yeah.
Taking that lead?
Yeah, thank you. There's two documents associated with this agenda item that was prepared for the committee. The first is a memo from me regarding the data walls, essentially giving the rationale for why we're doing it. Primarily, you know, the school report cards, which again will be coming out soon here in the fall, they tell us what they tell us, but oftentimes they're a moving target in terms of how they calculate things from year to year. This year in the directions for the report cards in big bold letters is please do not try to compare these scores with previous scores because they're not comparable, kind of thing. This led our team earlier in the course of last school year to start talking about, okay, if we were to develop our own homegrown way to monitor our progress through data at the elementary, middle, and high school levels, how would we do that? So we really looked at several different research items that are out there. One through linked through our CSIS 7 was stuff that was done a while back, but it's called Redefining Ready. And so you can find a bunch on the internet about redefining ready, but essentially what it tries to do is identify these different areas to measure and what is best to measure in terms of the data sets to measure your success as a school district and as schools within those levels. So what you'll see on the second, which was an attachment to that memo, was you know, essentially our version of this that we created from the Redefining Ready stuff, as well as just things we've been monitoring. And the goal, of course, with this would be that this is something that we can monitor throughout the course of the year, multiple measurements, so that we can track our performance. So if you look at the document, you'll see at the elementary level, we're really measuring at the top of the table. It takes you through what we're measuring, what is the data set we're using, how we're collecting it, and then the details around how often, and then whose responsibility it is. And so when you're looking at this at the elementary level, There are certain things that we measure at each level and then some things that are unique to each level. So if you're looking at the elementary, we definitely have attendance. We call it self-regulation. It's essentially our behavioral data. At the elementary level through third grade, we're measuring students in their reading proficiency. And Act 20 requires us to do an assessment where if the students fall on a certain percentile, they have to become part of essentially a personalized reading plan. And so we would track the number of students who are on that. We also want to track our reading readiness and math readiness through our Fast Bridge at the elementary, which we give 3 times a year. And again, I think Katie will share some results with you immediately following this part of the agenda on how those first round of tests went in the district. We'll use Forward, of course, because it's what we're measured by as a state in terms of our proficiency. We're hoping that we can develop ways to know what is our Fast Bridge telling us or our STAR test telling us about proficiency in a way that we can perhaps predict what our proficiency would be on the Forward test, but I don't think we have quite enough data to determine whether or not we are close on that or not yet. And then, of course, co-curricular participation. And as you look through the middle level, it's attendance, core classes, behavior, academic career planning, co-curricular again. And then at the high school, we're really looking at attendance, core classes, co-curricular participation, ACT scores, academic career planning. And then there's some other unique things to high school like Laude and school to work programming and early college credit programming as well. And then you'll see things like, for example, we have, might say, well, why are we keeping track of student success in Algebra 1 and English 9? Those are 2 courses that students take as 9th graders that are a strong indicator of their probability to graduate high school. So we want to be looking at that, when the students are in 9th grade. And then on here, you also see things like Algebra 2. Algebra 2 is a level of math in which the ACT, you kind of got to have a little bit of background in that to do well on the ACT. And one of the things we want to take a look at in terms of, how we may improve some of those achievement scores is what is our percentage in that? And I think as Ben pointed out earlier in the program with the math class, that junior level math course sort of goes here, goes there, I think my daughter did Algebra 2. I don't know if my son did or not, but it's got statistics now. It's different for each kid, but, you wonder, does that have a correlation? If they're not receiving that coursework as it rolls into ACT season, if it has an impact on their math performance. And then we'd be happy to take any questions you have. I'd just like to thank the team for spending, this has been work in progress for months. We've sort of been taking little chunks of it, meeting, then deciding on where kind of we were. And then, of course, the next step in this process is to develop a way to report this that's pleasurable to the eye so that you can easily see the results and track their progress. So we'll have that model for you to show you, hopefully by our mid-year results, so that we can show you the differences between our first window of district testing to our second.
Questions? Mr. Abel?
Yeah, not a question, but more a statement, and really for folks that follow along online. There are really hundreds, if not thousands of things that we're trying to teach kids every year. You can't measure all of them unless you like to be mean when you test. So you have to pick things. People will look at this and say, well, why are you measuring this and not this? Why are you measuring that? And I would measure, and I don't want it to sound overly flip when I say, it doesn't matter what you measure, because it does matter what you measure. But more important is measuring and then measuring again and then measuring again so that you can show progress and growth. So you have to pick what you're going to measure. You can't measure everything. So you pick what you can measure so that you can really demonstrate progress. I think the hopes for finding how Fastbridge and other assessments that we are using will tie into the state exams is a nice thought. But by the time we get enough data to figure that out, the state will no doubt change their test on us yet again. So at least we'll have our own metric upon which we can benchmark constantly. So thank you for all the work.
And I think it ties in with the systems of support that are already there, because if you notice behavior is showing, well, they're not ready, we've got the stuff in place to say, here's how we swoop in and try to save or right the ship, as it were.
Exactly. Very clever.
Thank you. Next up, we have internal assessment data update, Fastbridge Star.
So here's a chart that just gives a breakdown of all of our current fall 24 to fall 25 Fastbridge and STAR assessment data. Should have access to that somewhere.
Yep,
Yeah, we have it here.
got it.
You've got it?
I didn't know if you were also putting it up.
We could.
That's fine.
Stacy. So a little caveat is that Lincoln High School changed from the Fastbridge last year to the STAR exam this year. It's the same company, but we learned in our rollout of Fastbridge the last couple of years that it doesn't necessarily assess high school through senior level standards and have national norm comparisons. So STAR does. So it's just a better measure of our students' performance and achievement utilizing the STAR. So we shifted to the STAR. So not necessarily apples to apples on that assessment data from last fall to this fall, but it does give you a little snapshot. So sort of a wide variety of scores and growth. So we had some of our buildings that showed some growth from fall 24 to fall 25. The highest percentage of change was 7%. We had some of our buildings that those scores were declining in nature. Math was a little bit more consistently on the positive growth side. So it just gives you an idea of our first snapshot. And then similar to what Lee said, we will come back then and be showing all of our assessment window progress and keeping you updated on what each assessment window will look like. So our next assessment window will be in the winter, and then we'll have a spring assessment as well. And then, as we continue to utilize these same internal assessment measures like Fastbridge and STAR, then we'll be able to project out on an annual basis where we're at. So we're starting with baseline right now.
And just from my own knowledge then, so how do we then determine, like, we talked about Madison's scores went up last year, and they're like, someone thought maybe it was because they actually did, like, here's how you actually use your Chromebook when you take the test. It's like kids, are we also then parsing out, like, why did they have a 6% growth at Jefferson? Why did they have 7%?
Yeah, I think those conversations are all being had at the administrative level, because there are things like, are there advantages to running through practice exams when we're implementing an online test? And I would argue that that's half of the battle is a student having comfortability in navigating that online test platform. Like knowing where to scroll, knowing that on the ACT online, for example, there's sometimes 4 different scroll bars that you need to be able to navigate between in order to access the question and the response portion, and then the text where you're responding to, like looking at the question from. So navigating those online systems is definitely part of it.
And I would imagine PLC conversations at the building level.
Yep, and how are we utilizing practice questions and things that are available to our students? So there's lots to unpack when it comes to various performance levels and achievement levels. but it does allow us to have those conversations.
Right.
So it's a snapshot in time, but it's a more frequent snapshot than a state assessment, and it gives us the opportunity to look at what we're doing in a building level and on a district level to say, all right, why did Jefferson see this jump? What did they do? What did you all do at Jefferson? What did, why are we seeing such a dip at Monroe? And then talking about testing conditions and practice opportunities, all those things, so.
Okay.
It allows for us to then see the data, which is, it is what it is, right? It's just, nothing we can do about this right now, but what we can do is try to inform our practices to show that our students are growing for the next one, so.
Katie, this is just an observation, like, it seems to me there's so many variables here from year to year. I mean, the different composition of the student body, et cetera, and, maybe a bad day for the test or something, or whatever, but, so why don't we have, like they do with political polls, a plus or minus, sort of, when they say, well, so-and-so has got a 51%, which is with, but there's a margin of error here, or there's a margin of variability here.
If we would dig into in a FastBridge score report for a student or a STAR score report for a student, they will give a plus or minus, a little bit of a variation.
But when they just are sort of starkly absolute here, it's just like, holy God, this place went down by 3 points, and it might be negligible in some ways if you figure out what variabilities have affected.
And that's where it is, the data is what it is, so now what this allows us to do is take a look at what we're doing.
Yeah, sure.
And the fact that we're using this in.
It's better than no data at all, for sure.
I mean, we may not even have the same test, if we don't have 100% of our student population testing in every window, we may not, that's a variable too, who is participating in the test and when we're achieving these. So it allows us the kind of opportunity to talk about what we're doing to support students and support growth, and it gives us some information to go off of.
Sure.
The most important measure is really what our teachers are doing every day in the classroom, is those, our common formative assessments and our summative assessments based on standards, and, they're putting in the work to really push students along. So, that's the best measure. It's just really difficult to communicate that out in a broad scale to everybody about every classroom teacher, so.
But, yeah, let me ask you this. I mean, the math looked really good, and only one school went down by 1%, by 1%, or one count. So my thought was, well, it's easier to assess math. When you're dealing with English, that's kind of a slippery heel in some ways in comparison. So does math do better because it's more empirically measurable? It doesn't really matter.
Some of these tests we're testing computation, so, when we're thinking about a literacy or a reading assessment, there's a lot to that.
There's a lot to that,
passages,
yeah, of course.
Question, understanding what the question is asking in response to the passage that you're reading, and all of those, foundational skills from fluency through comprehension that are required on that assessment.
Right.
And, it's broken down, FastBridge is broken down into a more of fluency-based letter sound recognition, some of those kinds of things. So it does break down by skill. We have had a really solid math curriculum in place for
that's true,
the better part of 6 years, and our teachers are really committed to that, and we have some really instructionally sound practices in place with Bridges. It's a good math curriculum. I think our data continues to show that that's a good tool. I think we're hopeful that with our with Act 20 guidelines and with our new literacy curriculum, and then again, giving our teachers a few years to dive into one thing and not change again, we'll be able to build on those same best instructional practices. Every one of our elementary teachers, including our special ed teachers in grades K through 3, were trained on science of reading instructional best practices, which is huge, and I think we will see the positive impact on that professional learning for our teachers. Teaching students how to read and identifying skill deficits is incredibly difficult, and we've invested a lot in that. So I think, I think that's, again, there's some variables as to why our math achievement continues to be a little bit higher than our literacy achievement, but I think we know what's working in math, and now we're moving in that direction for literacy instruction.
Okay, now I've got 1 minute left. Moving on to the personal reading plan. You've got a chart right there that you can look at.
So Act 20 is, a Heidi thing, and Abigail Meerdink, who's our literacy specialist in the district, has just done a wonderful job of supporting our teachers in rolling out our first official year of Act 20 implementation. So their team, Heidi and Abigail, just asked that we share where we're at right now after our first round of Ames web testing. Our number of students that are being serviced through our reading teachers because they're receiving either a tier 2B or tier 3 type of intervention based on diagnostic assessments that are identifying some skill deficits. And then our students who actually have a formal PRP, which stands for Personalized Reading Plan, as part of Act 20 implementation. Those are students, as Lee referenced, who are identified as falling in the lowest 25th percentile or lower of proficiency based on Ames Web Plus assessment, which is the statewide tool that's utilized for Act 20 training. Just gives you a breakdown, and then we'll continue to share that data. So now the students on a PRP will undergo a intervention for 10 weeks, weekly progress monitoring, weekly communication with families, and then we'll get into our next round of Ames Web testing after that 10-week time is up, and then determine who continues to receive a PRP, who maybe not, who may be new to the PRP. So we'll be coming to share that information with all of you. And again, that's kindergarten through grade 3.
Mr. Abel.
Well, first of all, not as horrible as I was anticipating, but then again, the state radically moved the goalposts.
Yeah.
Hence my question. The state's original intention was by the end of a grade level, any student not reading at grade level would need to have a personal reading plan. While they have changed that now, is it anticipated that they're going to go back to that eventually, or do we think they're going to stay at this cut amount that they came up with? Because originally Act 20's goal was all students from 3rd grade on, not reading at grade level, must have a personalized reading plan. Do we know what's happening there? And if you don't know, just say you don't know.
I don't know.
Okay.
I have not heard that there would be any change to the current implementation, but
Okay.
Yeah.
that does sometimes change, that sometimes changes.
Yeah, I just wondered if they changed it for now and they're going, well, we changed it this year.
Not that I've heard.
Cross your fingers that all the wheels stay on the bus.
No change yet.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much for the, all the detail and all the work. This is looking excellent. So I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second?
Yeah, second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Next meeting.